I look okay, right? In frame.
Yep. And live.
Oh man, I forgot to clean my water.
All right, everybody.
Hey, hello, hello,
Good.
hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are streaming live on the YouTubes. We're here. We got Dan Govar and yours truly.
Tony the man, Moy. How you been, man?
Dan, the Spanish infinitive Govar.
The what?
Spanish infinitive Govar.
I don't even know what that is.
Govar, Govo,
I'm
Govas,
I'm
Govamos.
just
Your
yeah
verb.
yeah. You've been Govard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how was your week?
Uh, good, good. I think I've locked
I would.
down episodes slash issues on my digital. I'm like, okay, this is done. I'm trying to get. I'm like, I could launch it today if I wanted to for an episode. I'm like, this is done. I'm just trying to like get it done and like put it aside, because
Yeah.
otherwise I just keep tweaking and altering and going back and like, nope, it's good enough. Good enough.
Have to wrap it up.
Yeah, I just gotta get that good
It's a,
enough sort of.
it's the thing with comics in general. You reach a point where you're like, okay, it's done. It's too bad. Yes, I could massage it to death, but
Hmm.
doing that means that everything gets behind. It's kind of the production thing with comics that I both love and hate.
Yeah,
But
and and the other part that's challenging, especially this one, because I've done it before. Done it before and stuff, and usually it's just the deadline that you're like, well, good enough. But
yeah,
when it's completely on your own bonus, you're just like, well, I really want it to be good. I really want it to be right. So today we are
yes,
going. Good afternoon, William Clark. Today we are going to be discussing and creating likenesses. I'm going to start off with
yeah.
this one. This one is it's going to be a Robin Williams as Mork from Ork kind of a thing.
And I am going to be doing Ahsoka Tano from
Yeah.
Star Wars,
And then,
The
uh,
Mandalorian in particular. I'm going to do the
yeah.
Rosario Dawson
Oh,
version,
nice, nice, nice. And
which
I do.
I've wanted to draw her for a while, and I downloaded a few reference images that I'm going to be using.
Oh, beautiful.
Um, but I'm not going to do any of these actual images. I'm going to do my own sort of
Hmm.
layout, and kind of show you how I cobble together things from zero, um, which is tricky, as we both know.
It, it, it is. I mean, the other thing I'll have on deck as well is I'm going to show another process that you can use at home with. I have a printout here of Fennec Shan
Yeah. And
as
one of
well.
the things that we're also going to talk about is new tools and emerging tools that are out that
Hmm.
have made life both easier and trickier in some ways, for doing likenesses. Like there's a bunch of them now that are that a lot of pros use that you probably don't realize that they use. Um, that are it's interesting.
Right.
things that are tied to your iPhone and or your various phone device that will allow you to sort of, I wouldn't say trace, but it's sort of like a virtual trace of an image.
Yes.
Um, that's the closest thing I can kind of equate it to.
Yeah.
And there are ways to use that so that it's, you know, effective, in ways that you can use that so that it's a little bit more of a cheat than it is an actual. It's too easy to kind of fall in the trap of actually tracing something and doing something that's, you know, yes, it makes your life easier, but are you actually creating art at that point? um, so it's something to always be mindful of. And I am roughing out the shape right now and trying to get. She has kind of a longish face, and her horn things are really particular.
Yeah, they're different. They're different than
Her
the
tentacle
other
things are.
variations.
They're also different than the actual, like, cartoon. The
Yeah.
cartoon
No,
version.
that's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah,
different.
which, you know, there. I grew up. Well, I didn't grow up watching it, but I definitely sort of started, you know, kind of getting into Ahsoka Tano watching Clone Wars, and
Mhm.
that was sort of my first introduction. And she really kind of changed between Clone Wars and, you know,
Yeah, I don't
this
think they.
particular version of her.
I don't think they realized how popular she would
Yeah,
become.
well, just wait until her new series. Um, that will everybody's minds are just going to be like melted off. Did you see the new episode of Book of Boba Fett,
Yes,
by the way?
yes.
Not to give no spoilers, no spoilers. I've
Yeah.
watched it already, but it was one of those like,
You
yeah,
you finished the season?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I made Finn watch the last episode, and I was like, and at one point he got up and he jumped on our dog, to try and ride our dog, and I was like, Finn, that's not a rancor. Uh,
I knew when they introduced that. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be something.
oh, you knew
Somewhere.
it well. If
Yeah,
that, yeah, they kind of telegraphed that one.
yeah.
That's why I don't really consider that one a any sort of a cheat in any way. I think people, or not a cheat, but a spoiler. I think everybody
Mhm.
kind of saw that one coming. But yeah, so what's your so you're doing Robin Williams.
Yeah, he's just
Are
he's a
you now?
portrait that I've always wanted to do.
This is part of your dead deceased people that you admire, right?
Yeah, exactly. Um, there's sort of like heroes that have passed away, kind of a thing.
Right, right.
You know.
I didn't know what you were going to be calling it, but
Yeah, I'm not sure yet either. All I know is just like it's going to be that because, there's times I do enjoy like the process and breakdown of trying to to do a likeness and to make it a
yeah,
little bit of my own, right? Um, but at, I also know that doing something with people who are alive, especially now celebrities and copyright likenesses and everything else like that, is just kind of crazy sometimes, and you're just
yeah.
like, I don't want to deal with that. um,
That's true. It is really, really hard.
yeah.
So to break down my sort of process for doing likenesses, the two things that you really got to nail down
Mm-hmm.
are eye lines,
Mm-hmm.
and noses in particular, and mouths. Those three things, in my opinion, are the killers. If you
Yes.
don't get the eyes right, it's a killer. If the
So
nose
so
is
the
wrong,
face.
it's a killer. Yeah, yeah. Well, we're talking about faces. We're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
faces.
I know.
The nose is a killer. The eyes are a killer, and the mouth is actually kind of a showstopper too. If you don't nail those three items,
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of done. Everything else is kind of secondary because people gravitate specifically towards the eyes. If you really don't get the eyes right,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to look right.
Well, well,
Um,
the two things for specifically with the eyes is how inset or far apart they are, and then
that's true.
kind of the shape,
Distance.
right?
Yep.
You
Distance
know,
and shape.
yeah.
Those are definitely the killers. The other one, in my opinion, that so you're looking at the juxtaposition. You're ha ha ha.
Mhm.
I just wanted to sneak that word in there. You're
You
looking
always
at
do.
where eyes fall in relation to things. So one
Hmm.
of the tricks that a lot of people go through when doing is to sort of line up where your pupils are going to fall, and you study the face that you're actually looking at. I wish I could actually have them up next to each other so that you could kind of see, but I'm looking at where her pupils fall right at that little upturn that she has in her lips, and her lips do a little curl at the very end. So that's what I'm studying, is where that actually falls. And then you're sort of drawing like your own sort of lines. She has a very symmetrical face. It's definitely one of those like classic, these lines fall right here, these lines fall right here. Her head is sort of tilted down in this image, but this is
Hmm.
the best straight on shot I can kind of find. This is the other image that I'm sort of using to sort of line up her look.
Hmm.
She has an interesting nose because she has one nostril that's bigger than the other.
Hmm.
It's like a subtlety that you only
Yeah.
see, but this is a much more open nostril than this one is, and it's not the angle. If you look
Yeah.
closely, even here, and you kind of zoom in, you can see that this nostril is more open than this one. Um, so it's not really like a sneer, but
Yeah.
She
Well,
also has an interesting thing with her eyelids where you're looking at the weird imperfections because those are the things that actually make a person unique.
yeah.
So her eye is more open in this eye than it is
Hmm.
in this one. You see how the lid is more closed?
Hmm.
These are little tiny
Well,
subtleties that like
it's
really
yeah.
determine
So,
a
some of them are
person.
very easy to pull out, like Harrison Ford's smirk. Right, he has a very
Exactly.
iconic
Yeah.
smirk, like
Yep.
lopsided, like smile smirk kind of
And
thing, and you can find those. Other times it's super subtle, but it's the
yeah.
combination of hitting these things. One of the things I
The
always
other
suggest as well sometimes is just print out a picture, or
yeah.
or put it digitally, right? Put it digitally on Photoshop. Just draw some lines to kind of see, so you can actually observe like
Yeah.
what is happening and what's going on.
Yeah. How's it going, Ron? Hi, Darren. How's it going? Yeah, the main things are you're wanting to kind of, you know, hit the specifics that you're not going to see. I try and rough out where things are supposed to be, and then I kind of go for uh, it's the wonky nostril.
Right. Like like for Robin Williams, one of the things that you can that so one of the things that I often do is just leave it on uh, the thumbnail page of
Yeah.
whatever it is I'm drawing on, like Google Images. So I have, even though I may at various points of time focus on one or two, but I try to just have a variety of images like hitting me of the likenesses, so I'm not just completely focusing on just one. And one of the things you can kind of that way you can kind of tell, like, oh, what's an expression versus what is
Yeah.
actually a feature, right? Like, who knows? Like that one picture uh of Ahsoka, she could be flaring her nostril as an expression, right? She might be like,
Right.
or grimacing or grinning or whatever else. But if you see a whole bunch of them, then you start to pull it out. Like for Rob Williams, he has very thin lips, so that's one of the things that I'm gonna make sure to do, um,
Yeah.
or accentuate a little bit more.
The
Darren
other
Smith
trick.
says, "Love it. Favorite thing to draw is faces." Thank you. Thank you.
Um, Another tip to share is definitely try and do, and I think this is already starting to look like her a little bit. Another tip is to choose an angle that's not terribly symmetrical. In other words, doing a likeness dead on is really
Yeah.
hard. those are actually like the most impossible. Doing one at a 3/4 angle, it lets you kind of get away with murder. The other,
That's a
the
small.
other,
We're both
yeah,
doing the
like
three
the other,
quarters kind of a thing.
yeah, 3/4 is always way easier. The other one that's a neat little trick is do things like pick characters to do that have like one side sort of like is of their face is covered by either hair or tattoos or a scar or something
Or a
like that. That will make
tentacle.
life way easier. Yeah, a tentacle. Yeah. Other tricks, facial tattoos. Like I picked a character specifically that has a very specific facial pattern. Um, that's a sort of white tattoo that I'm gonna put on her face, and that's mostly to kind of make my life a little bit easier to nail down who it is. There are all sorts of little cheats like that that will make things a lot easier. I'm gonna put some kind of lightsaber lighting on her too, so she's gonna have underlighting that is gonna add a layer of difficulty because I now have to play with shadows that don't exist on her face. So I'm gonna, you know, catch light on the nostril here and the underside of her nose and under her eyebrows and here. She has kind of deep set eyes, so but she doesn't have eyebrows. That's the other catch.
Well,
Um,
that's also an important distinction to realize is that even if you have all the relative proportions correct,
yeah.
faces are three dimensional, and so once you get
Yes.
that, that's just step one. But then you have to start thinking about like what is coming out of the face, like how far the nose is, cheekbones, the brow ridge, right?
Yeah.
So like, her brow ridge comes out a little bit more versus when I try to do someone like Fennec Shan, Asian faces don't have very much of a brow ridge, right? And so light hits under the eyes and casts the shadows a little bit differently, and that's the other part of it, right? How the light hits their face, how the
Yeah.
shadows are cast across their face. That's a whole other thing because you think you got it down. I got the proportions down. But you
Yeah.
can still totally mess it up if you don't have the values of the topography, I guess, of the face.
Yeah. No, it's all horribly important. That's the thing. Like faces are so they're subtle. Like all the little things are very subtle. I also picked a character. Me, I don't know if you did, but you picked a version of him that didn't have as many wrinkles. Like
Yes,
that's the
yes,
other thing. If you pick a
that.
character that has a lot of wrinkles, it's a lot easier
Hmm.
because you now
The
have
wrinkle
defining
patterns.
features. Yeah, you have defining features that are easy to pick out.
Yeah, I
When
did
when
it.
characters like I've already messed up a little bit. Um,
Like
I
I
hate
did
that
a
I've already
I
messed
did a
up.
Sean Connery, and that was a um, probably a little bit easier than most people might initially think because you just identify certain wrinkle patterns, that they
Yeah.
have, and these are identifying features. Daniel Govar, go for Govar.
There we go. So this is gonna go right here. Somebody's phone was dying. I needed to plug it in. This is gonna come up here. Yeah, I left her. This is really hard.
And sometimes you don't hit it, and that's the other thing. Like this is
Yeah,
not a.
somebody asked recently, do you ever like throw away stuff that you've started? Yes. And
Yes,
usually it's
it's
likeness.
likenesses.
Usually it's
Yeah,
likeness stuff. That's
yeah, because
the
those are
number
things you
one
can't
that I throw away.
fake.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Hello, is that Mork? Nanu Nanu. Oh yes, someone came on my chat and on Twitch and was able to tell. So I know I'm on. I'm on a good
You're on
track.
track.
I'm on track. But yeah, like some of my, some of my, many of my likenesses and portraits that people see me do, most of them are not the first, like the first effort. My Martin Luther King, that was like the third time. I did three that day. I did one in the morning, and I had lunch, came back, and went, oh, that something's not right. This is wrong.
Yeah.
I
It's funny
started
how
another one.
taking a break really
Yeah,
helps.
yeah, it totally does. And uh, yeah, you can you can fail at these, and that's totally fine because you're trying to achieve a goal. But don't
Yeah. I mean,
feel the absolute stress to get it right the very very first. Sometimes you do, and that's great. But like
yeah, I really don't
Sean
want to fail
Connery
on
was
this.
my second one. I had two attempts on the Sean Connery one. Just a whole bunch.
Rosario
So,
Dawson's on my list, so I really can't mess this one up.
so now what I'm doing is trying to find shots of like light and I'm going to try to identify areas of his face where the light is going to be shining. And so he has really cherubic cheeks, right? So they have these
He's a cherub?
sort of. He's got a little cheeks. At least the ones when he was younger.
Yeah. Mork calling Orc.
Yes, Orson.
Oh, man.
Come in, Orson. This is the thing with nowadays. Like back in the day when you just had TV, you didn't have Netflix. You didn't have to choose what you watch. You were at the mercy of whatever was on TV.
Exactly.
You
It
get
really,
these like Mash. Like I don't know Mash, but that was just on, and that's how like it was on for like until like the '90s, right?
yeah.
Super late at night or whatever else, and it was just like on. Um, so like a lot of these like were just super late nights and like whatever is on, like okay, let's watch this. Let's watch TV Land. Whatever's playing on TV Land. Nova Prime X. What's up? What's up? Saturdays were for cartoons, right? It's Saturday morning cartoons, which the new generation.
All right. I think I'm. Whew, that was stressful.
That's what you got it. You got it down.
I think so. I think that's the rough basis for it.
Trying to
I think at
identify
this point
some
I'm.
names.
So the other issues with likenesses are skin tones, which we didn't even get into yet. So she has like a weird one because she's kind of orange,
Mhm.
like on purpose. She's like painted kind of a weird off orange yellow color. Um, it's just part of her species. So she's got kind of a weird complexion that is not something that you would normally mix. And it also creates some interesting sort of like issues when it comes to shadows because her shadows tend to be slightly more on the blue spectrum where they
Right.
typically should be on a purple spectrum. Um, so it's kind of weird. Like she has some like really different shadows to deal with.
Yeah. So this is you start getting into stuff like this with color theory. Right? Like
Exactly.
you have if you have a bluish shadow, a very simple one is, for instance, if you have yellow skin and you have a bluish shadow, that's how you end up with a little bit of a green tint sometimes, right? Yellow plus blue. But you have something orange, which is a secondary color, right? And you mix a blue with it, like you start getting like weird browns and other tones that you may not intend to.
I'm going to use a sort of different shadow color for her. I'm going to mix like a kind of a purplish version of. Oh man, this is going to be weird. It's going to be like a royal blue. I got to think about where her lightsabers are going to be too. I think I want her. She has interesting lightsabers. Hers are the white ones.
Yeah, hers are the white ones.
And she has two. So I'm gonna have one coming. So it's like, what color do you use to to define her lightsaber?
Right.
It's like the absence of light. I'm gonna use that one. That makes no sense.
Light blue.
Yeah, I feel like that's a cheat though, you know. Because I feel like, well, I guess light blue it is. I don't really know what else to use.
Oh, I think I've.
There we go.
Too much they think I'm drawing Anakin now. You're doing so good.
Yeah. Tony's really struggling with Anakin. I think he can do it, but it's going to be a tough one. I believe in you, Tony. More importantly, Anakin believes in you.
The other thing with faces, in general, is that you can kind of break it up. You talk about skin tone a little bit. You can kind of break the face up into three stripes, right? Generally, generally the forehead is a little bit more yellow or tone color because or bone color because it's the skin there is very thin, right? And you have bone. Like
True.
And you have a band across your cheeks and your nose and your eyes that's generally a little bit more rosy. You have more vessels and your flushed cheeks, your eyelids, like that. And down in the jawline and things like that is generally a slight tint of blue because we have hair follicles. Especially for men, less so for women, but it's still that band is still there, just less pronounced.
Yeah.
You have hair, right? And so in general, it's muted, and so we have a little bit of bluish effect. Now all this is kind of hidden when you deal with makeup and everything else like that. In general, if you break down someone's face, you can also identify those areas and give you a base for a foundation and how far to push it.
That's true. For me, I look at cheekbones. It's cheekbones are really defining. Definitely the nose and mouth structure. Those are, whether you make those large, small, how they curl. Those are like, super important. If you mess those up, it really kind of doesn't look like a character or it doesn't look like a person at all.
Right.
Or at least not the likeness.
The likeness.
That's
right.
Yeah. You get the likeness totally wrong if you mess that up.
That's a challenge that's why comics, have a little bit easier. You just have to hit a few things on it, and likeness is, fleeting, right? You just have to be consistent more so than drawing something. And they have so many things that identify them.
It's definitely easier, that's for sure. All right, I think I'm good. I've got all the things that I absolutely needed in place, except it's funny, I'm not even worrying about the arm, I'm worrying about the face. The face is the critical thing. If I get the face right or get it close, I can noodle through everything else, but the face is like a showstopper. If I mess it up, I mess it up entirely, and that's a start over. Um, so now I'm going to do all the scary part, which is laying in shadows. And I'm wanting this to be kind of a night scene, so this is going to be a little tricky. So as I was mentioning earlier, when Tony and I were first started talking, there are new tools that are out that make things a little bit easier for people that are doing likenesses. Namely, there are tools that are AR based. Um, for those that don't know what AR is, AR stands for augmented reality. Um, and in particular, they are things where you can sort of like hold your camera up and look through the camera lens or look through the camera image to see things that aren't actually there. So it allows you to sort of superimpose an image over what you're actually working on. It's a tricky thing to kind of master using it, but once you do use it, you kind of don't go back. It's real useful when you're using it to line up certain objects. I use tools like that. Perspectives. I use tools like that primarily for things like layouts. So I will design a layout very small and then blow it up on something using an AR tool. There are various ones out there. If you just go in and click on, AR trace or AR drawing, you'll find lots of them that exist. My favorite ones and the ones that I've sort of shared with other artists, there's one that's called DaVinci Eye, which I kind of swear by. It's the one that offers the most flexibility. And it actually does have true VR or true AR for
Apple
iPhone users.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that they're developing the one for Android right now, but it just isn't out yet. So yeah, DaVinci Eye. If you ever want a tool that's really fun to play with and to also to enhance your ability to do, download it. Definitely, if you write it a review, say, "Hey, Paint Bros, give me a shout out about this." Yeah.
But especially since we go to conventions and we don't have and we're under a little bit of time pressure to get exhibitions done, or just don't have the luxury of having monitors everywhere to or iPads and everything else to pull up references. Okay, we're just going to we're going to shortcuts.
Sorry, I'm not talking. I'm concentrating.
Same here.
I know this is probably the episode that's going to sound the worst to everybody. Yeah. It's like, all right, it was a good episode, but man, they were really quiet. We're really wanting to make sure that we don't, talk out of our behinds. So, what are some other techniques that you know about for doing likenesses? I know another one that I used to use a lot, which is the grid method. Yes, and I think that's the one that most kids are taught in school is the grid.
Right. I think it's good to know that, just because it helps develop sort of hand-eye coordination and break down what you're seeing versus what you think you see. Those are all super important. I'm going to go over. So one of the challenges with watercolor paper, or doing things in watercolor, is that we work in blocks, right? We have these huge blocks.
Yeah.
We can't. Light boxes are a thing for people who just, to have a single sheet of paper and pencil, and you can kind of light box things.
But
we
don't actually.
Can't.
Yeah.
physically. You can't do it. So I'm going to show one with chin. I'm just going to get a little bit of a wash in here, and then
She has like really blue contacts. Those must have really annoyed her, because I don't think she actually has blue eyes, does she?
no. Isn't her
I don't think
boyfriend
she.
like
Oh, she has a
boyfriend's
boyfriend.
yeah, he ran for president, didn't he, or something like that, or
Get out of here.
politician? Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, at least it used to be. I don't know. Um,
Huh.
but, right. Get one watercolor texture in here, so I'm just gonna dab in a wash and then just add some water on top. And the side thing.
Oh, no stress, no stress. Man, you killed me for a little bit. She has a boyfriend.
Yeah.
There's no chance.
Let me
Womp
quick,
womp
quick
womp womp.
Rosario and Cory Booker. That's his name. Yeah, that's who it was. All right. So we're gonna do a transfer here. Right. Do a smaller one. But so one of the things to think about is I'm using. Can we see the white lines that I'm doing here? Is also to keep in mind,
Yes.
like, feel free to print out a portrait just to kind of see what the relative uh, dimensions of someone's face would be. Like, if you're going to do it, and you're going to spend the time to do a likeness of an actor, there's tons of great photos up there of all these actors and actresses. So,
It's true.
and then also to be aware of what you're kind of comparing against. Obviously, most of us learn sort of the basic um, proportions with like five eyes across and how wide the lips are and everything else like that. And but while you're rarely ever going to draw like the perfect face all the time because faces are naturally imperfect, they give you a point of reference. So, for instance, looking at me now way here, her lips actually are kind of narrow, like they're as wide, they're just barely wider than her nose, right? Um, in this expression, and her eyes definitely line up with the interior of her eyes, definitely the exterior edges of her nose. You can kind of identify and see that. Even things like let's look at the ears. Right?
Hey, Tony, you're talking away from the camera and drifting off.
Oh, okay. How's this?
Much better.
Is that better? Sorry.
Yeah.
And whenever I end up looking down, I don't project out.
Mm.
So yes. Do your markers identify things like the height of the forehead and whatever else, right? And so this
Yep.
is kind of good reference and shape of the eyes, and just draw over it. You know, make those notes to yourself. One of the things I'm going to do to transfer now is I'm just going to take that same photo. I'm going to go to the back. I'm going to flip it over. I can still kind of see what's on the back of this, and we're going to do a rubbing. And this is something I've done. If I can do this with a sketch. If I've sketched something out, like you know, some sort of creature, and I really like the sketch, and I want to like try to maintain that as I move on to a watercolor block, I can do this sort of rubbing method. And here, all I'm looking to do is just make sure that I have, and this is the same thing if you're in AR, right? You're looking to make sure your step one, which was your proportions, are correct, right?
Yep.
And then we can look at other things after that. But you just want to have a little bit of confidence that at least your proportions are correct. So I'm just going to kind of, you know, use a soft pencil. And I don't have to get all the details, but I definitely want to, you know, make sure that I get eyebrows, eyes, nostrils, you know, just kind of get the location of things. And it's going to look really awkward here as well. Because it's going to be just line work pretty much, and not.
You ever take a deep breath whenever you're doing like a really stressful part?
I forget to breathe sometimes.
I do too. I like, it's like eventually someone's gonna come home and be like,
Pass out.
yeah, they're gonna find me passed out. What happened? I just had a really stressful part. Yeah, just I was holding my breath for too long. It was a deep dive.
Deep dive.
Boy, that was literally the most stressful part right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Getting the orange and the purple to work together.
Yeah, I was honestly not 100% sure about that.
How much of that do you YOLO?
Yeah. Do you ever speak with confidence about something and then like,
Yep.
okay, I'm totally faking this. I'm not 100% sure this is gonna work. I know how it should work. I just don't know if it will work. Yeah, that was totally one of those. Wow.
Oh, there are definitely times, especially sometimes at shows and whatnot, where I'm just like, well, we're gonna YOLO this. Let's do this.
Yep. What's Dan doing? Talking right out of his anus.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just like pure unbridled, like cross your fingers confidence that, well, if it doesn't work, I can fix it somehow.
To a certain degree, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people think watercolor is totally unfixable. Like once you go down a road, you're done. And it's you and I know better. Like
right.
we've encountered these like, oh, that's impossible. It's totally messed up, and totally figured out ways to fix it. There are moments where it's like too far gone, and those are the scrapping moments when you're like, okay, I could just, you know, like go with this and try and fix it, or I could throw in the towel and start over, and it might actually be faster. Those are the might be faster moments when we might actually consider scrapping something.
So what I have here is a small board. I'm just going to place this over my, and I need a little piece of
Trying to mimic white light when you don't want to use blue is really hard.
Gotta have something.
I know. You need some sort of a color, and blue is like the default that you want to go to, but you don't want to go to it, you know?
Okay. I'm going to use. I'm going to angle this a little bit, just so on my paper it's a little bit angled, a little bit cooler. I'm just going to use a little bit of my kneaded eraser to keep it in the spot. And there's graphite on the back side of this, right? And all I'm going to do, you can actually just use your pencil on the front side and just press down on it and rub, or just kind of use the side. I'll use the side of a smooth pencil. And I am just going to rub over, right? You don't want to press into a point because you don't want to score the paper underneath.
Yeah,
what you're
that's
doing
definitely.
is you're rubbing that lead on the other side of the paper on there as a point of reference.
It's a fine line between rubbing and
Right.
scraping.
And yeah, I can see probably the camera is not picking it up, but it's there. I probably should have rubbed it a little bit more.
I'm avoiding the joke.
Lobbed it up there for you.
I acknowledge the joke. I'm avoiding the joke. I appreciate the joke.
Right. So what I have now is pretty much I know like this is where these are the basic proportions of her face. Right? And now I can go in and build off of it. Yeah, the braid and on the side here. And this is where you can kind of play around with it a little bit as well. You can be like, okay, I know where her eyebrows are. I can raise one eyebrow higher. I can play with her expression. Make the other one a little bit lower.
Just a little bit.
A little bit. And if you guys have any questions on this, feel free to
Ask
ask
Tony.
us. Yeah.
So now I'm going to be building in my darks. I put them in, and I used a slightly lifting purple, which is a problematic thing, but it also let me be a little safer. I want to deepen her eyes. Use that go-to purple. You'll also notice whenever I'm blending, I'm using the point of my brush at the darkest point. The back of the brush is where I want to blend out from. It's just a little brush trick. The tip of your brush holds all the color. So you want to make sure to angle it away.
Yeah.
When you're blending.
Unless you're actually picking up color with the back of your brush and putting a different color on the front of your brush, then you can do all that.
Exactly. All sorts of little tricks. Lots of tricks. All right, I think I've gotten her. I'm probably going to put highlights in white to show the actual like lightsaber sort of like pickups. I don't know. Part of me wants to put more color in and then go over it afterwards. Like this one's a tricky one. Her shading is so weird that it's like I'm not 100% sure the best approach. Like part of me is like, flesh her her oranginess out.
So how are you gonna handle her facial tattoos? Are you gonna go back in with white?
I'm gonna use a white brush pen
Okay.
to I'm gonna use that and adjust the opacity for
Okay.
the darker areas. Um,
Got it.
I think that's the
So
smart
so
approach. I think.
so right now you're going to just render the orange contours of her face.
Yeah, I'm just making sure that I get my colors in that need to be where they need to be, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go in and use that white pen to
Mm.
lay in the tattoos, and probably to somehow add a hint of a bluish tone. I don't know. See, I feel like blue is the cheat, but I think it's the only color that I can
Sometimes
use.
it is, you know. Sometimes that's what it
Yeah,
is.
I don't see another color that would work. I mean, I can fade it out, but it won't look right. And I'm trying to find like images of her with lightsabers lit, and it's like they
With a
literally
different
just look like
tone.
they just look like a whiteout.
Yeah.
Like they literally look like somebody took an airbrush with white, which is a little weird. I do think I've found her perfect lip color, which is good.
So I'm gonna use this a little bit to tighten it back up. The eyeline, ears just go a little bit higher. Your ears have an interesting shape.
Make that bottom lip a little fuller.
And there's also lighting patterns that you might look for as well that'll give you a hint at like the topography, you know,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. There's things I keep going to this upturn look for
Mm-hmm.
her,
Mm-hmm.
which I love because it actually shows like the planes of her face really well. Like she
Mm-hmm.
has really high cheekbones. Like her
Yeah.
cheekbones are kind of like legend.
Mm-hmm.
And her eyebrows as well are really nice. Um,
But you don't see them here. You just see the brow ridge.
yeah,
Her
I
eyebrows are
know, I
fake.
know. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I wonder if she had like a like some sort of a like transparent sticker that they used for her eyebrows
To
and
get them out of
everything.
the way.
Yep, like just to cover it all up and also give her the ability to emote,
True.
which is something that they always struggle with whenever they have stuff like this.
Yeah, because especially when you're going from an animated character to a real life character, right? Because you know,
Oh, she's got
like
so many layers in the animations. Yeah,
yeah, because there's so many things that you could accentuate further in animation, like you know when they decide to use Spider-Man's eyes for emoting in the comics, it was like, how are you going to do that in the real one?
yep.
But they did it.
All right, I think that's pretty close.
All right. Yeah, I think
Man, I keep second guessing myself.
Watercolor definitely is one of those, is a medium where second guessing can destroy you.
I know it.
Because you need to have that you need to have the washes go down very confidently, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. Yeah. Which you're the way you're wording it is like a cautionary tale for what I'm doing right now. I'm like, damn it, Tony, I know.
We're gonna do the thing to mitigate that though is to start with light washes. The lighter the wash that you start with,
Yeah, I know.
um,
You can always build darker.
you
You
always
can't do
build
the other
darker.
way. Yeah.
And so if you have any hesitancy,
Very true. Yep.
one of the things you can do to mitigate it is just to start with a lighter wash and then build that confidence.
So true. Trying to get that grin, but not a grin. Like it's just the way she uses she holds her face. She tends to have a grin that's like
Yeah.
forever there, but it's not necessarily like a grin. And if you go too far, it actually is. It's like, wow, you just went Joker with it. Um, all right, I think that's better. I feel like I'm getting her likeness more. It's so hard because the lighting's not actually there. This is one of those things where the studio would definitely help. If I could actually like take a photo. I'm just saying, if Rosario Dawson ever wants to pose, this would be a really good opportunity.
Because that's the other thing sometimes is that like when you have photos that aren't super high quality, and not necessarily in this case because these actors and actors often have a lot of them. But if you ever have a photo that some actors or some likenesses they're just not a lot of good photos of, and it's really hard to kind of capture some
makes
of
it
that.
almost impossible. Yeah.
And so you have to, go into Photoshop with some photos and mess around with the levels and all that other stuff.
So true.
I'm gonna put a little bit more pink.
This is also one of those like delicate things where waiting sometimes is better.
Yes. Yeah. I was about to do that. I'm
like,
going to put this a little bit down and then I'm going to wait.
Yeah, I've just realized that I'm about to cause a really bad bleed. Not the way I want it to either. All right, I think if I go too much further, it's going to start looking less like Rosario Dawson and more like Chucky.
I'm going to go back to
which is not the way I want to go with it. She has such a slim line right there that I don't know if I think I went too far with that. I think this needs to be really toned down.
Fine.
funny, like her facial tattoos really kind of betray her.
You
Like
picked a tough one,
like
man.
no, I know. It's like it messes with your like her actual man.
Right. She has tattoos that kind of what they oh, shoot was it in makeup where you're like where you're creating the illusion of like a skinnier nose or um,
Yeah. Yep.
right.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
There's a term you women out there know it. Is it contouring? It's not contouring. But you guys, do you
No,
do
you can fool
yeah,
the
you fool
shape of
the eyes.
something. Yeah.
You fool, you put a
Yeah.
little highlight on the nose.
Yep.
There's a term for it in makeup, but I forgot. Lucky Duckula. Good afternoon, guys. Looking forward to a chill a bit after the morning meetings. Thanks for the good vibes. Thanks, Lucky.
Right on. Here we go. All right. Now I gotta do some. Now I gotta wait.
Hurry up and
So
wait.
while I wait, I'm actually gonna bring up that app that I was telling everyone about and
Yeah.
answer some. Let's see here. Just realized I haven't been on. Looked at the chat in a little bit.
I've been keeping an eye on the chat.
Okay. Yeah. So the app that is in the App Store, DaVinci Eye. Let's see here.
So I'm gonna start trying to find for me identify areas of the face that recede
Yeah.
that go in and try to start there first, right? Get to those biggest because the lightest areas are going to come out at us, so I want to find the darkest areas or the parts of the face that crease into the face, eye ridge, uh, cheeks, smile lines, things like that. And I'm going to try to start darkening those areas first. I'm not looking at in the photos what is dark and light. I'm trying to find out where in his face it recedes or it has like sharp angles or things like that. So like his under his eyes, his brow ridge comes out, so I'm gonna have to darken that. So
Yeah. So it walks you through how to do it in an annoying way. So once you have DaVinci Eye up, Draw Now is the button to basically start pulling in an image, and then it superimposes that image over what you're seeing. If you have a camera mount, it's the easiest way to use it. You use the camera mount to view everything through here. It superimposes the image over what you're seeing, and you're looking through your phone while you're drawing. That's the easiest way to explain it. This is probably the closest. Oh, let me see if I can get that in frame. It's probably the closest example to what it looks like. I would sort of show what it looks like through here, but it looks kind of strange over top of it. Yeah, I'm actually using my phone to project, yeah. But it's a useful tool. What I like to do is pull up thumbnails of images. I'm going to hit Draw Now, and I'm going to pull in, I think I have a thumbnail somewhere that I can probably, here we go. I can't show those. Story of my life. It's like, yes, I could pull those in. Then everyone would see the super secret project that I'm not allowed to share. All right, here's a good one. This is for something else that, bam. So it gives you two different modes. AR mode, you have to have an anchor in place, and when you do, you can tilt your paper any which way and it will tilt the image based upon that. Standard mode,
That's
which
very
is,
very cool.
yeah, the standard mode is the one that most, classic is the way that, sort of classic looks. Here, let me see if I can do this. There we go. Oh my gosh, I hate that they're walking me through everything. Start drawing, please. So, oh my gosh, seriously? Stop, stop, stop. Stop telling me how to use this super easy tool. So that's what it looks like. It you'll see the Rosario Dawson image underneath of my image. So basically, you can
It puts a transparency.
trace.
Yeah.
So if you look at my finger, I would actually trace over this. So it allows me to blow up what I see. So that image was like 2 by 3, but looking at it through the phone, I can blow it up to basically, I can put it on a wall essentially, if I got far enough back. I can also, let's see here, exit drawing. It allows you to kind of really mess around with the space. Is this dry now? Yes. Okay. How are we on time? Actually, we are getting close.
Yeah.
I'm going to put on the tattoos. I'm going to use this Kuretake Zig white pen for the tattoos for her face. I'm using this specifically because it allows me to mess around with the opacities. It's not the brightest white, which I'm going to use something else to do all the bright whites. Probably the Signo that we like to use so much. The other thing I like about this is it has a sort of a fluid that aids in blending.
Aids in blending.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like a water brush. It's the best way to kind of describe it. Almost, not 100%. The one negative is it does not really lift.
Oh.
So once you get your lines down, they're down. This is definitely not for the faint of heart.
Go big or go home.
Pretty much. So I'm going to make that little spot right there a bright white. I do like this, the way that they work is you just kind of give them a little bit of squeeze. There's like a little press area. It says push. I don't know if you can see that on the brush. That's actually where you squeeze and the fluid comes out of the tip. Just the tip.
Yeah. I acknowledge the joke.
I saw the joke.
I saw the joke. I acknowledge the joke.
I avoided
I'm going to let
the
the joke go by.
Yeah, that joke is tired.
Hmm.
I'm going to let that joke rest.
this is also a little bit of a challenge for me. This is the first time I've actually tried painting. So,
Tried what?
tried painting
Beard
Robin
block.
Williams. I This is my first time trying to paint Robin Williams' face. So, um,
Ah,
so
no time like the present, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's like you end up observing a lot more
Yeah.
than you think you do. You know, you're like, oh, his face does that. Interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you start to do portraits, you really look at people differently. Um, like I have a really hard time doing portraits of people that I know.
Hmm.
I mean a really hard time. To say I have a hard time would
Do
be
you, do
putting
you
it lightly.
usually end up overworking them?
I kill them. Like I've
Yeah.
actually I have something that I've been working on for my brother for God knows how long. And
Uh-huh.
it's because I literally have it's like an artist block because I know the people involved
Hmm.
too well, and it makes it three times as difficult when you really have like an understanding beyond just the visual.
Hmm.
Um, some people, the people who can draw their loved ones, I applaud you guys. No, I mean, I really have a really difficult time with it. Um,
No, I hear you.
I see things that aren't there is the problem. You're putting in all the juju of, you know, the 30 plus years of growing up with somebody,
Well, yeah,
or
you
you know
you put in an expression that you're mixing
exactly you're
expressions
seeing
that are not there, or a chuckle
yeah
or a
you're
laugh, and that's
you're
not there
seeing
in that
stuff
moment.
yeah you're seeing stuff that is not physically there because it's
Want it
stuff
to
that that person does,
right.
and you're putting all of that like that's the hardest part. You got to be like House, you got to distance yourself from it. Yeah, you have to be House. You have to totally walk away from it, act, be a bad bedside manner, which is easier said than done. All right. So now I'm going to take the white pen and do all of the crazy bright stuff.
Ha ha ha. I acknowledge the joke. Will have to be my response to my kids' jokes from now on.
Nice. Unfortunately, kids' jokes are terrible. My son tries so hard to tell jokes.
Yeah.
Sometimes and the only time that they're successful is when he's not trying. Like that's when they're genuinely funny. But
When
he
they don't
tries
intend to be.
so hard to tell a joke, and it's like, oh man, he's like, yeah. TV doesn't help either. Like it's kind of ruining his joke telling ability.
Why? Because he just tries to mimic what's on TV without the context.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't understand context. Like context is the problem. Like he doesn't get why something is genuinely funny. So he tells the punchline like it should be funny and we should all laugh.
Right.
And it's like you totally missed like
The point of it.
the thing that made that funny. Um, humor is a tough thing to teach a child.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's something that they genuinely have to pick it up. Like they it can't actually be taught. I don't think. I think they have to they have to like. I don't think humor can be taught. I think that's actually the problem.
yeah. Like my nephew will hear the joke, be like, "Is your refrigerator running?" He's like, "No, it's just sitting there." Like, no, you're supposed to say yes. Like, okay, yes, then you should go catch it, but it's not running. Like, damn it.
Yeah. I have failed as a parent. I can't make my child funny.
He will just retain that humor the rest of his life, and then eventually
Yep.
it'll be a dad joke.
Thanks. Now I have to apologize to everyone. Cool story, bro. Your kid's not funny.
Right? Accident joke confuses them as well. It's just the best to explain their own punchline.
It really is.
And that's from
Very.
the Twitch chat for you. Also streaming on Twitch at Tony_Moy.
Yo, I hate that underscore guy.
uh,
Now I'm trying to put in underlighting, which is a painful process to put it onto eyeballs. I feel like I'm close.
feel like you're close?
Yeah, how about you?
I'm there. I got a little bit of his smirk. I just got to.
Like I'm gonna have
He
to
has
do a
he has
lot of
some
blending out on the sides, and yeah, this is definitely gonna have some like nuanced stuff going on. Like a lot of the background,
yeah.
what I do to the background is gonna kind of define the planes of her face in a way.
Do you want to save where we're at and do it on a like an Instagram or some other stream?
Yeah,
To
maybe.
finish it up.
Yeah, that's probably
Because
a good idea.
likenesses do take some time, right? They do.
Exactly. Like I don't do anything this fast. I was just
Yeah,
thinking about it. I was like, I would never do a likeness this quick.
yeah. Likenesses are.
Yeah. Like I'm sitting here thinking, like, am I insane? Like, why am I doing this so fast? It's true.
It is. I mean, it's also why I end up, and whenever someone like requests it, I'm like, I'm gonna charge a little bit of a premium if you're gonna want like.
If you want it to look like X,
if you want it to look like X, because I have no leeway. It's different because you're with a lot of superheroes and comic books and stuff like that, because you're going for stereotypical iconic sort of shapes and face. You know, there's the Shazam face, right?
Totally different thing altogether.
Right.
Yeah.
You have so much flexibility. Just trying to go for like sort of iconic shapes. Like there's a Batman shaped face, there's a Bruce Wayne shaped face, there's a Tony Stark shaped face, and that's it. You don't really have to get all the little extra nuances to. If you're going to do a Robert Downey, right? If you're going to do a Robert Downey Tony Stark, that's a lot different than just doing a Tony Stark.
Tony Stark. Yeah.
Right.
It's like, cool story, bro. It needs to look a little more Robert Downey.
Yeah. So when people do request that sort of stuff, I'm like, it's going to take a little more time, and you're going to charge a little bit more.
It.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm now at that, like, stop messing with it. Let it dry. and the other part of me is like, fix it, make it better.
No, I know that's one of the things when I first started watercolor that first year or two when I started doing it, I had to learn how to have a different level of
restraint.
patience. Yeah, patience,
Yeah.
right? You're like, I really need to put this aside. I want to keep working on it. I have the time to keep working on it, but I can't.
Yeah, my inner voice wants me to keep massaging this to death, and then my, you know, my logic brain is like, dude, you know better. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah,
Step
sure.
away. There is a point with a lot of pieces. So interestingly, I'm doing a project right now for a doctor. I can talk about it. I just can't talk about who and whatnot.
Yeah.
For a doctor that is a sketchbook of basically like his it's for a proposal, and but it's like a story of him and their lives together, and so there's a lot of likenesses and a lot of photos of them and whatnot that I'm recreating or drawing from cobbled together versions of different images. And it's really tricky because the likenesses have to be spot on. And you definitely, I'm like, dude, I don't want to be the reason that things don't go forward. It's like I not only have to nail it, but I like really have to nail it. So my stress level on it is like through the roof. It's probably like twice as stressful as anything else I've done. And I was like, and halfway through I was like, what have I done to myself? Like, why did I take this on? Like, I would never have normally taken this. And then it was like, actually it's just like a really sweet project, and it's something that's totally different than anything I've ever done before. And I think that's why I was like, yeah, this sounds fun. But man, it's definitely an exercise in likenesses and ways to go about them and ways not to.
Well, you have experience in being like a boardwalk caricaturist, right?
Yeah, I used to do boardwalk. I used to do caricatures. Are different though. Caricatures, you take a different approach when you're doing a caricature.
Yeah.
Caricatures, you're pinpointing specific things that are really defining on a person, and that can be things like the way that a person has, like, for instance, I was talking about Rosario Dawson and her little upturn curl that she has on her lips. Like, she has a very definitive sort of, like, her lips go one way and they're very full, and then right at the very end they curl up, and that's like kind of a, if you don't have that, it's not Rosario Dawson. It doesn't even sell. So when you're doing caricatures and you're doing stuff like in a quick manner, you're trying to nail those weird little things, and you're kind of pinpointing those specifically more than anything else. Everything else is like secondary to those little elements. You're identifying, that one nostril bigger than the other. You're identifying like all those little tiny features. Like, you're making a point to make those really stand out.
Right.
And you're accentuating them. You're accentuating the shape of the face. Like, if the shape has like kind of a heart shape, you're making it look
making it literally a heart.
Yeah. You're making that super apparent. That's just, that's like the tactic. But does she have an underbite?
Ooh.
She has a very prominent jaw. Rosario Dawson. I think she has a slight underbite. I'm trying to find an image with her teeth, and it's very hard to find her with her teeth. And usually that's another sort of like point when someone doesn't show their teeth very often in smiles. No. If you look at it, if someone doesn't show their teeth very often and smiles, it's usually because there's something that way back they felt self-conscious about.
Right.
And they're just, they typically don't show, there's something about that. There's something that they have an issue with. Yeah. I hope everyone can hear you. Sorry, my dog's whining for no apparent reason other than I'm talking too much. Not to her.
All right. Chat's been quiet
All right.
today. Any comments from the
Yeah.
peanut gallery?
Yeah. Hey, Peanuts.
But
It's all right. I think everybody's probably pretty much right where we are, which is mesmerized, right?
yeah. They're totally hypnotized, mesmerized, mortified, petrified.
Petrified.
All right. So it's been about 90 minutes.
We're definitely
5.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has definitely been one of the,
More challenging ones.
yes, like hands down. But like
Things we
this
do
is,
for all of you.
yeah.
I mean, I think
We will,
it's important for people to see and know that
oh yeah.
it's not always a straight
What? Do
line.
we have challenges? Oh
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
Everything's hard.
No.
Everything.
Struggle with
Life is
everything.
hard. Yeah, if anybody has any sort of questions or anything, feel free to shoot us notes
Yeah.
on Instagram as well as here on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
We will definitely check them out and answer.
Leave it as a comment. Comments always help us, even if you want to just say, "Hey,
Yep.
you guys are doing
Cool.
good."
Cool. Yeah.
Cool
Cool
story, bro.
episode. Yeah. And if we did something that you don't like, let us know that
Yeah,
too.
yeah. We won't read it, but you're more than welcome to.
Yeah. And we'll say, "Cool story, bro."
uh, I think I got a little bit of likeness here.
Yeah. I think I need to do something to make that pop out more, which is going to take some finessing. That jaw needs to be sharper right there. But all right, well,
Yeah.
I think that's going to wrap this episode. I hope everybody enjoyed.
Yes.
We will
Thank you,
probably
everyone.
continue these. We're probably going to stop where we are and
Yeah.
continue these on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Not today, but at
Yeah.
another time.
So you follow us on Instagram, and you'll
Yeah.
get you'll get the notification. Most likely, it'll be next week.
Yep. Did we talk about what we were doing next episode?
We didn't.
Well,
So
then we can't give you a preview.
yeah.
But we will. We had a couple ideas floating around. I don't know if
Yes.
we actually.
Yeah.
decided
We haven't
on one.
solidified anything.
Yeah. So look for those probably on the Instagram feed. We'll probably clue you guys in on what we're going to be doing then.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
till then,
Take it easy, guys.
hope everybody continues painting, and I hope you enjoyed the show.
Absolutely.
Yep. Take care, everybody.
Signing off.
Ciao.